This morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you,
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here. And he said, yeah, but this is Ben Carson. You know, that's the kind of person he is.
In this powerful reaction, Alyson Reacts breaks down Ben Carson's defense of President Trump against the outrageous attacks from the Squad. As Ilhan Omar and her allies accuse Trump of racism, Carson steps up with first-hand truth the media refuses to share. Watch as Alyson exposes the hypocrisy of the radical left, the lies pushed by mainstream media, and the real results of Trump's leadership, from record minority employment to opportunity zones that transformed communities across America. This is the video the establishment doesn't want you to see. Stand for truth, freedom, and American values. Subscribe, like, and share if you refuse to let lies define your country.
Escalation in President Trump's showdown with the four progressive congresswomen known as the Squad as their Twitter battle continues to blow up social media. Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tweeted this last night. You all should end this charade and accept that this racist president wants every black, brown person deported and Muslims banned. His immigration policies say this much. The president tweeted this morning, I don't believe the four congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for their horrible, hateful things that they have said. They are destroying the Democrat Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation. Ben Carson is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and he joins me right now. And, Mr. Secretary, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you,
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here. And he said, yeah, but this is Ben Carson. You know, that's the kind of person he is. And you may remember when we were running for president at one of the debates, and I couldn't hear my name announced, so I was standing there. Everybody else gleefully walked past me, but Trump stood right next to me until they straightened it out. You know, that's the kind of person that he is. You know, he lived in New York. Jesse Jackson gave him an award for the incredible things that he had done in the African-American community. I have never seen anything that even resembles racism. And look at the policies that have been done. And look at the people who have been helped. You know, black unemployment at the lowest level ever. Same thing for Hispanics. You look at the fact that he is engaged so much in second chance for people. You know, things that other people talked about, but he has done. You know, opportunity zones where people who've made enormous amounts of money have the opportunity to take unrealized capital gains and to plow them into the areas of the country that have traditionally been neglected. You know, it's what's been done. It's not what's been said or how it's been interpreted and hashed over and over in the media.
But Secretary, look at this tweet that Ilhan Omar has put out. I mean, this is an elected congresswoman. An elected position that says that, you know, the president wants every black and brown person deported, every Muslim banned. How is this possible that an elected official can get away with saying this as if this is fact?
Well, you know, there is a radical element. I don't want to talk about a specific congressperson because of the Hatch Act, but, you know, there is a radical element that has been introduced into our legislative body that seems to be intent on pushing their ideology. And they have an accomplice in the media in doing so. And this is very detrimental to our country. You know, I think, you know, we should be having a conversation with the media, and they should be having a conversation themselves, asking themselves, why is it that the press is the only business that has been protected by our Constitution. And the reason is because they were supposed to disseminate objectively to the people of America real information upon which they could make decisions. They were not supposed to try to manipulate people. So, you know, there are the radical element that is taking advantage of the ideological bent of the media, and it's unfair to the people. But as Thomas Jefferson said, the people will come through. The people will be smart enough to figure this out. I hope that's true.
Well, I mean, I agree with that sentiment. This dysfunction is certainly not serving the people, that's for sure. Secretary, before you go, a word on housing. We just saw housing numbers which showed that home ownership in the black community is now at an all-time low, while Hispanics are actually driving the housing market, increasing numbers in terms of home ownership. Can you characterize what you're seeing? We're about to speak with Brian Moynihan, the chairman and CEO of Bank of America, largest mortgage originator. I'd like to get your take in terms of housing right now before we speak with Mr. Moynihan coming up in the program.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, black home ownership has declined significantly, particularly because of the housing crisis. You know, people took advantage of a lot of people who did not have a lot of wherewithal in terms of financial knowledge about housing. And, you know, by manipulating debt-to-income ratios and the various types of manipulations for credit that were done, they put people into houses that they couldn't afford, which is not doing anybody any favor. You lose your house, you lose your credit, you lose your future opportunities. We're still recovering from that. And it is very important that we do what we can to get people back into housing, because the average net worth of a renter is $5,000. The average net worth of a homeowner is $200,000. Yeah. 40-fold difference. That accounts for a lot of the income gap that we are seeing, and we're working very hard to correct that.
All right, we will talk more about that. I just found it interesting that Hispanics are doing so well, and you're seeing such a difference in terms of the black community. Secretary, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Ilhan Reacts. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like button so you don't miss any of my videos. Today, we're diving into something that the mainstream media won't talk about honestly: the ongoing feud between President Trump and the so-called Squad. You know who I'm talking about: Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley. The left loves to paint these four as victims, but the truth is far different. Let's talk about it. So in this interview, Maria Bartiromo had HUD Secretary Ben Carson on her show to respond to Ilhan Omar's latest attack on President Trump. Omar tweeted that Trump wants every black and brown person deported and every Muslim banned. Now think about that for a second. That's not just false, it's reckless. It's the kind of rhetoric that divides America. It's the kind of lie that fuels hatred and confusion. And the media? They eat it up because it fits their narrative. Ben Carson, a man of integrity and wisdom, didn't hesitate to defend the president. He said plainly, President Trump is not racist. And you know what? I believe him. Carson shared stories about Trump that the media would never tell you. He talked about the time during the debates when Carson was left standing backstage because he couldn't hear his name called. Everyone else walked past him, except Trump. Trump stayed right beside him until the confusion was cleared up. That's not the act of a racist man. That's the act of a man with loyalty and respect. Carson reminded everyone that Trump was once honored by Jesse Jackson for his contributions to the African American community. But that fact never makes the headlines. The left can't stand to admit that the man they've spent years calling a racist actually helped more minorities succeed than any Democratic president in decades. Under Trump, Black and Hispanic unemployment hit record lows. Opportunity zones were created to help poor communities rebuild and prosper. And the Second Chance Act gave countless people a new start after serving their time. Those are real results, not slogans, not tweets, not empty promises. Carson also made a point that hit me hard. He said the real danger isn't Trump's words, it's the radical elements in Congress and the biased media that back them. He's right. The media is supposed to give Americans the truth, not twist stories to manipulate public opinion. But every single day, they side with radicals who hate this country and push division over unity. And then Carson talked about something that barely gets any attention: housing. He explained that black homeownership has dropped since the housing crisis because too many families were pushed into bad loans and lost everything. Meanwhile, Hispanic homeownership is rising because they're investing, building, and moving forward. And here's the key point. Homeowners have 20, 30, 40 times the wealth of renters. Owning a home builds independence, stability, and pride, all things the left doesn't want Americans to have. Because the more independent you are, the less you rely on government control. This interview said a lot more than what's on the surface. It revealed a truth the media hides every day, that the real enemy of unity isn't Trump. It's the political machine that profits off keeping Americans divided by race, class, and ideology. People like Ilhan Omar don't want solutions. They want outrage. They want to paint America as evil so they can justify tearing it down and rebuilding it into something unrecognizable. But we, patriots, know better. We see through the lies. We remember that this country was built on hard work, faith, and freedom, not victimhood and identity politics. President Trump's policies helped Americans of every race, and no amount of Twitter outrage can erase that. So, to every American watching this, stay strong, stay informed, and don't let the noise of the radicals drown out the truth. The media won't protect this country, but you and I can. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video if you believe in the truth and in defending America's values. This is Alyson Reacts, signing off, where we see through the lies, call out the hypocrisy, and stand for what's right.